Welcome to the Merrimack Republican State Representative Candidates Forum, often referred to as Site of Eight, your Republican team. We first would like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'd like to ask the Honorable State Representative Dick Hinch to lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I'm State Representative Bob LaRue, and it gives me great pleasure to moderate this forum, affording you the opportunity to meet your Merrimack Republican representative candidates, who they are, their position on various issues, and their goals and objectives if elected. You may have noticed that we are practicing social distancing for this forum. This is the same setup that the town council uses. All the candidates are 6 feet apart, and because of their distance, masks are not required. Before I proceed, I would like to call an important voting change to your attention. There has been a change in the voting location, one of the voting locations at the James Matascola Upper Elementary School. So stay tuned for this, for the forum, and later on in the program, we'll give you all the details. I will explain how the forum is going to work. Each candidate will be introduced, and they will be given 2 minutes to make their opening statements. This will be followed by 2 rounds of questions. Each question will have a 2-minute answer. They'll have 2 different questions, 2 segments. So having that been said, the speaking order has been determined by the listing on the November ballot. So let's start with the Honorable Jean Nodder. She's a 10-year state representative who sits on the Science, Technology, and Energy House Committee and is the Deputy Republican Floor Leader. Representative Nodder.
Thank you. Do I give my introduction now?
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob. Janine Nodder. My husband Stefan and I moved to New Hampshire in 1998. We've been married for 35 years. We have 6 grown children, 2 granddaughters, a Quaker parrot, and a puppy. I have several hobbies. I'm an avid reader and a marathon runner. I got my start in politics in the late 1980s as a POW MIA activist in hopes of resolving the issue of those who were left behind after the Vietnam War. I wrote featured articles on various topics for numerous publications, including the Press Enterprise newspaper in Riverside, California, and the New American Magazine. In 2006, I started hosting Chattin' with Janine on Merrimack TV, and that led to positions in several organizations, including Samuel Blumenfeld's Literacy Foundation, the Gold Star Mothers Memorial Association, state president of the New Hampshire Federation of Republican Women, and I've been a state representative for, as Bob said, for 10 years. I'm a solid conservative, and I sincerely hope that the voters of Merrimack will focus on the issues that we deal with in Concord and choose to send this Republican team to represent them. Thank you.
Next we have Lindsay Tausch. Was born and raised in Merrimack. She's a young conservative who wants to bring fresh ideas and solutions to Concord. Lindsay?
Thank you, Bob. Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Tausch, and I'm working to be one of your representatives in Concord this year. I believe in fiscal responsibility, defending the Second Amendment, and increasing our economic freedom, and I will not vote for any income or sales tax. I grew up here in Merrimack on Wilson Hill Road. After high school, I went to college at Georgetown University, where I studied economics, and now I'm starting my career here in Merrimack. I'm running for state representative because I believe we need a fresh perspective in government, and especially a fresh perspective that is true to conservative values. I hope to earn your vote so I can work to defend our tax dollars and our freedoms in Concord.
Thank you, Lindsay. Next, we have the Honorable Jack Balcom. He's a 40-year Merrimack resident, has served 6 years as your state representative on the House Education Committee, 2 years as his vice chair. He's a U.S. Marine, and he's a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy. Jack?
Yes, thank you for tuning in to us.
Yes, I'm a veteran. I've been vice commander of Post 98 here in Merrimack. I'm also a member of the Marine Corps League. As Bob said, I'm a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, took the Marine Corps option, had 2 Westpac tours. I've lived in Merrimack almost 40 years with my family. My 2 kids, my 2 grown kids went through the Merrimack school system. I like your vote to go back to Concord to represent you full time. I've been endorsed by New Hampshire Liberty Alliance. I have a A rating from both the NRA and Go New Hampshire. I will support the complete Republican platform, including no broad taxes and conservative values. I'd like to be your full-time representative up in Concord. Appreciate you supporting all of us in November 3rd.
Well, thank you, Jack. Next, we have Melissa Blasek. She was born in New Hampshire, moved to Merrimack with her family 7 years ago, and owns and operates a music school here in Merrimack. Melissa?
Hi, yes, I'm Melissa Blasek. If you would have told me not long ago that I would be running for state rep, I probably would have laughed. But the events of the last 7 months, coupled with the disastrous voting records of our Democratic-led legislation over the last 2 years, have made me very concerned about my future and especially my daughter's future. I am born and raised in New Hampshire. We have a wonderful state here. We know that more freedom and not more government is often the solution to most of life's problems. But I worry that our Democratic leaders, that they don't know that. With them, it's like death by 1,000 cuts. They take a little bit more money and a little bit more freedom, and in exchange, they rule a little more. Because never mistake it, every time that you give a little bit more money, you have given up a little bit more freedom. And what you're left with is a government that rules the people instead of a government that answers to the people. And so this is why I'm running, because I want a government that remembers that it answers to you and remembers that there is nothing more important than liberty.
Thank you, Melissa. Next, we have Bob Healy. He retired to New Hampshire in 2008, has been active with the Merrimack VFW, has delivered over 1,700 lunches every day for 3 months, from the village eatery to our first responders. So, Bob?
Yep. Yeah, thanks so much, Bob. I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. Like you said, in 2008, we did move to this location, and we've been working with the VFW, like you said, and the litter crew also, cleaning up our parks and recreation areas. I enjoyed dealing with the first responders and meeting them over that time, because with the COVID crisis, it was just very good to step up. It was set up through my wife, who's a town councilor here, and I want to expand on the death of 1,000 cuts. I say death by 1,000 bills. I just can't believe that in this state that they would think of putting in 1,000 bills. It's just not that screwed up. I'm sorry. I just hope you vote for the whole slate of 8 here, and thank you, and don't forget to vote on November 3rd.
Thank you, Bob. Next, we have Honorable Dick Hitch. He's a 12-year state representative. He's a current House Republican leader, and this is the highest position ever obtained by any Merrimack state representative. He's a Navy veteran, has lived in Merrimack for 30 years with his wife and 2 children. Dick?
Thank you, Bob, and welcome to everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with this great slate of 8, and I'm looking forward to a lively conversation this afternoon. As Bob said, I am married. I have 2 children who were schooled here in Merrimack as well, and currently reside here. I am a U.S. Navy Vietnam-era veteran. I was a member of the Board of Selectmen and chairman for 3 years. I was on the Budget Committee and served as vice chair. I was on the Zoning Board of Adjustment, a member, prior member of the Merrimack Chamber of Commerce, Merrimack Lions Club, Merrimack Rotary, and American Legion Post 98 here in town. As Bob said, I am currently the House Republican leader, and it's my wish that the Republicans take over the majority in the House And in doing so, I fully expect to be the Speaker of the House, and that will be a great accomplishment and also a great place to be for the town of Merrimack. So once again, I just want to say thank you, Bob, for moderating today, and for those of you who are listening, and I look forward to the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Next, we have Dr. and retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Mary Mayville. She holds a Doctor of Nursing practice degree, has served our country for 24 years in both active and reserve military service, has lived in Merrimack for 24 years with her husband and 5 children. Mary?
Thank
Or
you,
Doctor?
Bob. Thank you. I'm Dr. Mary Mayville, and I have been a resident here in Merrimack for 24 years. I'm currently a faculty member at Northeastern University in Boston, and I'm honored to have educated and mentored over 1,000 young nurses since 2002. I've held leadership positions throughout my career, from chairing the Merrimack PTA Kindergarten Board of Directors to running a program for 400 nursing students. From hospital nurse manager to Air Force flight commander. I've worked with ranking military officers, nonprofit and for-profit agencies, correctional facility administrators, and business owners. I'm a leader. I believe in a human being's ability and capability to make autonomous decisions. Big government, overreaching regulations, increased taxation are not the answer. Free enterprise is. It's simple for us conservatives. We believe in the individual, in the greatness of the individual. And I know and love Merrimack. We should each expect to live the life we choose and spend the money we earn in the best possible way for ourselves and our families. And that's what I would like to do for you, for our Merrimack folks, for our state of New Hampshire, is to represent you with this great slate of 8 in Concord for the next 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Next, we have the Honorable Maureen Mooney. She has served 6 years as your state representative, served on the Judiciary Committee, the Rules Committee, and was an assistant Republican leader, and is a former dean of a charter school in Manchester. Maureen?
Thank you so much, Representative LaRue, and greetings, everyone. My name is Maureen Mooney, and I'm a candidate for state representative here in the town of Merrimack. Along with my teammates, I'm one of the slate of 8. I've lived in Merrimack for over 20 years. You see, I came to college right here in this town, right down the street, and I never left. The voters of Merrimack elected me 3 times to the New Hampshire House of Representatives. During my 3 terms, I served on the House Judiciary Committee, the Rules Committee, and was an assistant Republican leader. Also, the Speaker of the House appointed me to chair the Special Committee on Eminent Domain, which resulted in laws protecting private property. In addition to my legislative background and my charitable work here in Merrimack, I spent years in education administration. I encourage you to visit my website, votemooney.com, for more information, and I would respectfully ask for your vote along with those of my 7 teammates on November 3rd. I look forward to today's forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Okay, that takes care of our introductions. Now we'll proceed with the first round of questions, and we'll start with Representative Notter. Representative Notter, one of your campaign plans is economic recovery. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Thank you for the question. COVID-19, the quarantine was devastating to many businesses. Over 200 businesses in New Hampshire have had to close their doors permanently as a result. Several of our constituents have reached out to me and told me how bad it was for them, and business owners, and also the parents of children and school children. But now that we know how to do things safely, we need to get people back to work, get the kids back in school, and get the economy rolling again, because everyone is essential. So I'm asking the voters to send our Republican team to Concord so we can work to make sure that government does not stand in the way of letting this happen. Lowering business taxes allows businesses to expand and hire new workers, while raising taxes on businesses and creating more mandates implements the opposite effect, with more unemployment and a bigger welfare state. Our Republican team will work to improve our economy, And we will vote no to an income tax, no to a sales tax, and yes to the free market because it works.
Thank you, Janine. Next, Lindsay. What motivated you to run for state representative, and what can you contribute to the New Hampshire legislature?
Thank you. Like many people in Merrimack, I've been disappointed in some of the things happening in Concord. Seeing our very own representatives vote to impose an income tax or take away our Second Amendment rights, I know that we can do better. I am proud to be from New Hampshire, where we stand up for economic freedom, constitutional rights, and individual liberties. I am running for state representative to help ensure that we stay true to those New Hampshire ideals. At the same time, growing up in Merrimack, it's important to me that our representatives put our town first. Merrimack families deserve state reps who will fight to protect their tax dollars, defend their right to bear arms, and stand up for the liberties they deserve. I know that any one of the wonderful 8 candidates here will work to do just that.
Thank you, Lindsay. And Representative Belcom, why are you running for re-election for state rep?
Okay, thanks for the question, Bob. The main reason I'm running for it in summation is the fact that Governor Sununu has been minding the fort up there, protecting the New Hampshire advantage. And he needs a House and Senate that will support him and protect the people in New Hampshire. Every tax increase in our fragile economy has consequences. Small businesses close or move. People lose their property. People lose their livelihood. The Democrats up there that control the House and Senate right now have passed 34 increases. Okay, we need to go up there and change that around, and also to protect school choice and individual freedoms. And when I go up there, I'll do that.
Thank you, Jack. And Mary, the Second Amendment rights is a big issue, hot topic issue right now. What's your position on the Second Amendment rights?
First, I want to say that I sometimes don't like the terms Democrats and Republicans. I believe that I'm a constitutionalist. I believe that the U.S. Constitution has done more for the betterment of humanity than any other document in human history. And I believe that when our founders wrote the Second Amendment giving us the right to bear arms, they didn't do it to give us permission to hunt. It was so that the people would be the final check and balance of government. And that is what creates a free society. We are a constitutional carry state here in New Hampshire, and I will fight to protect that. It's working really well. We have some of the highest gun ownership rates per capita, some of the lowest gun crime rates, and some of the lowest violent crime rates in the country. So freedom is working.
Okay, thank you very much. And next, we have Bob Healy. I understand you're a big advocate of school choice, both grade and trade schools versus college. Would you like to explain on that?
Sure. When I was living in Connecticut, there was a lady that came from New York City called Ava Moskowitz. And she ran a school down in the Bronx that was funded mostly by, believe it or not, Michael Blomberg. And they did really, really well. They outperformed some of the best schools, not only there, but in the entire state. And if you look at her record, she used to be on the school board. She did an amazing, amazing job of just getting that job done. She actually visited Harvard and was instrumental in getting the charter schools in Harvard and in the surrounding areas in Connecticut together. It was amazing that the number of schools that Connecticut has compared to the rest of New England as charter and magnet schools. The scores in the schools are really, really good. They've driven up the scores of the regular public schools. And I know when a lot of people talk about what Ava did in New York City, they said, well, they get to choose. Well, it's a lottery. And the lottery, if you watch these things, they literally cry if they don't make it into the thing. And then they also say that they talk about that the special education classes, they don't really have as many. Her average was like 17% per school. And even so, they still scored way better than everybody else. Getting back to the trade schools, I'd like to always talk about the $15 per hour. Most of the people that work in a trade school takes 2-3 times that, and they never have the bills that they have in regular colleges. I myself went to Northeastern and for the first year, and when I got my co-op job, went down and worked in a steel mill, and that steel mill ended up being a place where I stayed for 10 years while I worked for my college degree after that. I actually liked working with my hands better, and I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that would like to do that also.
Well, thank you, Bob. And Representative Hinch, there are a lot of what I call hot button items right now. We have the COVID, we have the loss of revenue from businesses closing and things of that nature. So what do you see as your top priorities for the legislative session during the first year, the first half of the session?
Yeah, thank you, Bob, for that question. So we will have some challenges the first year that we're going to have to undertake. And with the appropriate leadership, I believe that we'll be able to achieve that. Number one, we have to open up the state. Right now, we are in emergency orders. We need to take the emergency orders and replace them with an active legislative body that can navigate its way through to make sure that government is running as it should. The first year of the biennium is also the year of the budget. And the budget for us is going to be, again, a top priority. We are facing right now, and the number is fluid, but we're facing right now a deficit of between $400 and $700 million that we have to get under control. And we'll be able to manage our way out. There will be no broad-based tax. There'll be no income tax, no sales tax. We aren't going to tax our way out of it. We will manage our way out of it. We'll also have to realize that we're going to have some challenges with how we're going to operate as a legislature. We're most likely going to be in some remote situations relative to public hearings. We also will most likely be in remote locations for our House sessions. So we have to be able to navigate through that as well and make sure that the legislature is functioning as it should. And we need, most of all, for the legislature to get back to work, and we need to be able to open up the state so our businesses can thrive once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Dr. Mayville, you, on your opening remarks, you touched a little bit on why you were running for state representative. Would you please elaborate on that a little bit, please?
I'm running for New Hampshire State Representative simply because I'm grateful. I've built my life here in Merrimack. I've served my country. I've served and cared for my family, my patients, and my students. I sacrificed for what I earned. I worked weekends, nights. I held part-time jobs. I even ran a small home-based business. I utilized every tool and every opportunity that this state offered to each one of us. And our state motto is to live free. Free of excessive taxation, free of the burden of excessive regulation, and the freedom to work hard. We all have those freedoms. You know, I have a really vivid memory of the support this community offered when I faced military deployment during 9/11 as the mother of a 3-month-old infant. This community came forward in ways that I remember with deep and unending gratitude. And I want to give that back. And I really feel that the essence of my life and that of Republican Women is one of collaboration. And I want to bring that essence to the State House. Collaboration takes patience. It takes thought. It takes intellect. It takes respect. And I'm running again because of those things, the collaboration that I can bring and the gratitude that I feel. This is a citizen government. This is not a paid position. I'm not here to advance a personal agenda. I'm not here to go to the next position. I'm here to serve my fellow citizens, my state, and my community. My life has been one of fulfilling my duties as a professional nurse and an Air Force officer, and I've lived my dream of raising my family here in the Granite State, and I'm ready to give back. I'm ready to serve my fellow citizens, and I owe this to you. I've built my life here, and I'm here to make sure that those stepping stones that I had are available to each and every one of us.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Representative Mooney. There are several issues on the minds of voters specific to Merrimack. Can you describe what adequate representation in Concord is for Merrimack residents?
Thank you very much. Merrimack is a very unique and a very special community. I am familiar with issues specific to Merrimack as I have previously advocated for Merrimack in Concord. Merrimack needs state representatives who are familiar with the toll situation and continue to advocate for their extraction. Legislators who can work with other legislators and department heads to get answers, solve problems, and collaborate for Merrimack's best interests. I remember as a state representative hosting forums right in this very room for citizens to interact with department chairs and other legislators from around the state. Merrimack needs state representatives who support businesses and economic recovery that does not include an income or sales tax or unreasonable government regulation that chokes small businesses into closure. We need to maintain the New Hampshire advantage. Merrimack needs state representatives that support education choice for students and for parents and adequate education funding. Merrimack needs state representatives that are accessible and committed to serving all of Merrimack when elected and engaging in respectful discourse, not participating in unproductive discussions and personal attacks on various social media platforms and online forums. Only through effective communications can we work together for Merrimack. Merrimack needs state representatives who are willing and able to work with the legislative delegation to hold St. Gobain's accountable and work together on clean air, water, and ground soil. Lastly, the work is continuing on the highway expansion plan that affects Merrimack, with the replacement of 2 bridges and increasing the traveling lanes. Merrimack should not bear any cost with those renovations. These are my thoughts on ideal representation for Merrimack, and I am prepared to do all that I mentioned as I have the time, experience, and dedication to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Well, this concludes our first round of questions, and you can see we have a very impressive group of candidates. They're all interested in Merrimack's best interest. They don't have any personal agendas or things of that nature. So we'd like you to remember all 8 of them on Tuesday, November 3rd. And we'll get involved with the election process a little later on, explain that in details. So now we'll start with round 2 of our questions. Representative Notter, the Second Amendment has always been a major issue with you. Tell us about previous gun legislation and what concerns you have going forward.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that question because I've been talking with the voters this election cycle, and I've met several who know who I am based on that one issue. So as a Republican in the majority, I voted for pro-Second Amendment bills, including the Castle Doctrine, Stand Your Ground, constitutional carry, like Melissa mentioned, and for a bill that removed penalties for the owner of a stolen firearm that is then used in a crime. As a Republican in the minority, there were so many gun-grabbing bills, I don't know where to start. But I chose the picture at the top of my palm card because it was taken on the first day of this current term when I was arguing against the Democrats' rule of not allowing representatives to carry a firearm for our own defense. Focusing on just this current term, in 2019, Republicans fought against House Bill 109, which would have required a law-abiding citizen to undergo a background check before any transfer of a firearm. House Bill 514 required a waiting period between the purchase and the delivery of a firearm. House Bill 696 actually created a guilty until proven innocent standard. This year we had House Bills 1115, 1143, 1285, 1349, 1350, 1374, and 1608, all submitted to strip us of our rights to bear arms. To elaborate on one, House Bill 1608 was the same unconstitutional legislation that was struck down in California. It passed the New Hampshire House on a roll call vote of 150 to 145. Governor Sununu vetoed the gun bills that landed on his desk. The Democrats tried to overturn these vetoes on September 8th when the House met at UNH. I gave the parliamentary inquiry to sustain the veto against the gun confiscation bill. Ironically, it was a Merrimack Democrat who gave the PI for an override. This is why there are two parties. We have different platforms, different views on the issues. I want to stress that what matters most is what button your representatives are pressing when they're sitting in Representatives Hall. I have a stellar voting record with 10 years of honor roll grays with the NRA and other local gun groups. The Women's Defense League invited me to be one of their featured speakers at the Second Amendment rallies this year and last year as well. I will continue to fight for your Second Amendment rights, and I know our whole Republican team will do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. Next, we have Lindsay. You recently graduated from a prestigious college and earned a degree in economics. Can you speak to your position on economic issues here in New Hampshire?
Sure, thank you. One of my favorite quotes is from former Governor Meldrum Thompson, who said that low taxes are the result of low spending. A big reason I decided to study economics is that I'm passionate about fiscal responsibility. I am committed to keeping state government lean and using technology to make it even more efficient. I will never vote for an income or sales tax, and I'll be your advocate for fighting to lower our property taxes. It is also no secret that many hardworking New Hampshire families have been affected by the government shutdowns. I think it's time to prioritize economic recovery. We need smart conservative policies to help our economy recover after the pandemic. This means bringing more high-paying jobs to New Hampshire and reducing taxes for families affected by the shutdowns. It also means supporting small businesses and reducing wasteful government spending. I think, as all of us know, economic freedom is the backbone of a strong society, and it's time to get our economy, our jobs, and our businesses working again.
Thank you, Lizzie. And Jack, what best qualifications or what qualifications do you bring forward to get you reelected?
Okay, thank you for the question, Bob. I'm going to expand on that a little bit and say that our whole team brings both leadership and experience far beyond our opponents to go up to Concord and to hit home runs up there. Leadership-wise, I personally, chairman of the only public charter school in Merrimack. As I said before, Marine Corps officer overseas, leading Marines, which is a tough act. Up in Concord, I've been vice chair of the House Education Committee, chairman of the subcommittee on public charter schools. I've been the New Hampshire House representative to the State Advisory Committee on Students with Disabilities. I've also been the New Hampshire representative to the New England Board of Higher Education. I'm very passionate on education. Also, the second part of your question was experience. I think it's interesting to point out that anybody can write legislation. I mean, you can go up there and you can write a bill. I mean, the Democrats did a great job writing 1,000 bills that would take away our freedoms. But to get it to the governor's desk is a whole nother set of skills. And we have those skills here. We have put through legislation that has helped the state of New Hampshire. One of the bills I can recall is my state bill on dyslexia. We studied that for a year, and we came up with landmark legislation to protect those students with dyslexia. In fact, other states have copied us. I'd give you an example of what it takes for experience. My bill passed the House Finance Committee 35-0 the week that it was proposed. It was the only bill, by the way, that passed unanimously. And then it sailed through the Senate 24-0. So that gives you an example of the kind of experience and leadership you need up in Concord, and we're going to be sending that if you vote for all 8 of us.
Excuse me. Melissa, we hear the government is this, the government does that, and the government is all kinds of things. In your opinion, what is the role of the government?
I love this question because I think this is a question that every candidate for any office should be asked, because the reality is that we don't really know what we're going to vote on necessarily. You may ask my opinion on a specific subject and then I never end up voting on it in that term. But if you know how somebody views the role of government, you know generally how they're going to vote regardless of the subject. I believe that government is a necessary evil. It is an inherently flawed system because it is made up of inherently flawed individuals. And that's why you never let the government have too much power over your life, because it is inherently imperfect. You, as a citizen, have the right to lead your life as you see fit, as long as it doesn't harm anyone else. In exchange, you accept personal responsibility for your own success and failure. And the government is simply there to create a framework so that we can all express our liberties.
Bob, there's a lot of political turmoil going on right now, both locally and nationally. How do you address these differences of opinion and issues?
Okay. I fear in the case of what's going on right now is the fringes are heard more than what the majority is. You've probably got 80% of the people, and when I watched Jean's show the other day, she had a great graph saying that, 80% of the people are either a little bit right of center or a little bit left of center. And then you have the 10% on either side. And that's what we're hearing now. And we just can't, we've got to kind of drown that out and try to work with the people right in the middle. John Kennedy always said, let us not seek the Republican answer and let us not seek the Democratic answer, but the best answer. And I always think of it that way. When you vote on something and you're looking at something, you should be looking at the answer for the people that you're representative. When I was younger, one of the quotes that I heard my mother told me was, when you got a candidate, it's not a perfect candidate. It's like a train ride. It gets you in the location of where you want to be. It doesn't get you right to where you want to be. And there's going to be disagreements you have with any candidate. But I always think that you should always try to get to the location and the group that you want to be with is the people right in the middle. And try to let the fringes just play themselves out. Getting down to the, what I stated at the beginning, 1,000 bills is just ridiculous. The state's not that bad. I just think that we have to get over that and just work with the people in the middle to try to get things done.
Thank you, Bob. And Representative Hinch, we hear you speaking all the time about we ought to take over the majority, the governor, the Senate, and the House. So why should the voters support and vote for a Republican majority in the governorship, the Senate, and the House?
Thank you for the question, Bob. Right now, the governor needs reinforcements. This slate of 8 is going to provide those reinforcements to the governor. You've heard from others today about the 1,000 bills that were proposed in both the House and the Senate. Now, candidly, of the 1,000 bills, some were written by Republicans and some were written by Democrats. We ran into a logjam, and it caused just absolute chaos where bills had to be combined into what's called omnibus bills. And that was not going to fly because there were too many issues relative to whether those pieces of legislation even had a public hearing in one body or the other. The governor had to veto 77 bills over the past 2 years, and Republicans sustained, in other words, supported 75 of those 77. We need to be able to reject some of the policies that are being brought forward. To the point that was made earlier, 1,000 pieces of legislation in 1 year is absurd. We need to be able to reduce regulations. We need to reduce the laws on the books and eliminate versus creating even more and infringing upon people's rights. I also need to point out that as examples of some of the legislation or some of the actions that came forward by the Democrats, we had an opportunity to receive $47 million in aid to our schools, and the Democrats rejected it 4 times. 4 times. This is the only state in the country that did not approve and accept that type of funding. The Democrats proposed numerous increases in tax and fees. And fortunately, even in the minority, we were able to, through the governor's veto pen, reject that as well too. And as was pointed out earlier, there were 8 different anti-gun bills over the past 2 years, all of which were successfully vetoed, all of which were successfully, the governor's veto was sustained. We need to make sure that we are sending the reinforcements for the governor. We need to make sure that we take the majority in the Senate, in the House, in the Executive Council, and up and down the ticket. So I would respectfully suggest that sending Republicans to Concord is the appropriate avenue to take.
Thank you, Dick.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to take personal privilege. As an Air Force veteran, I'll refer to you as Colonel. Is that okay?
It's fine.
Okay, thank you, Colonel. We have a lot of issues in Merrimack right now. We have single-based air and water pollution. We have the expansion of the turnpike coming up, as Representative Mooney spoke about it earlier, and we have the COVIS and all kinds of things going on that are directly affect Merrimack. In your opinion, what is the most important factor that is affecting Merrimack right now?
Well, I'd actually like to take a rewind on that tape and just repeat what was just said around this panel. And I have to say that I feel that we all feel the same way about these very important issues. They are infringements upon our personal freedoms. They are infringements upon our Constitution. They are against what we believe as conservative people, that the people should govern the people. And so I'll say to you that those issues are going to change every month, every year, and every election cycle. They're important. The minutiae are not important. Who you send to Concord to represent you is the most important thing. And so I want to tell you about my basic philosophy on that and how I feel that I will represent our constituents. I have no agenda here other than to do what I do as a nurse and a scientist and as a health professional. And that's to explore, to investigate, to collaborate, and to help determine a solution. Okay. I will talk about one issue though, and that's taxation. I really feel that taxation is imperative for 2 things. For health, I'm a nurse, and for safety, but not for every whim or want that someone can come up with. Taxation supports a collective need that we can't individually manage. So we tend to embrace the common good, and we embrace our first responders, and we embrace our teachers, and we embrace our infrastructure. And that's what taxation is for. So allow me to explain just a little bit who I am and why I think that I will help support those issues that are so important to us all. I am you. I have been a young mother. I have been a working mother with school-age children. I've been a mother of young adults. I still am. I've been a young professional, a seasoned professional, a caregiver, a senior helper, a taxpayer, a volunteer. I'm you. I purchased my first home here in Merrimack. That was a little scary, but I did it. I sent my children to school in Merrimack. I've prayed in Merrimack churches, and I've celebrated many, many events here in Merrimack. I'm you. We're you. We represent you. We're you. I'm no longer that wide-eyed young adult with my first job. I'm no longer looking for my first home, anticipating my first child, anticipating my next job, but I know, I appreciate, and I understand what you bring to the table. We need that conversation. I'm a taxpayer. I've been out of work, just like some of you are. I've stayed home with my children. I've cared for my aging parents. I'm you. We're you. We're here to represent you with the issues that are most important to our community and our state.
Thank you, Carol. And next, we have Maureen. Maureen, can you please explain to us how public service is part of being the state of New Hampshire?
Service to the community is a big part of being a state representative. Although state reps make laws per our Constitution, they also have a duty to serve the community here at home. I am no stranger to serving and going above and beyond. As a member of the Rotary Club of Merrimack, whose motto is service above self, I have voluntarily assisted for years at town-wide fundraisers, spending my 4th of Julys in the 90-degree weather on the fields of the school, the cold Thanksgiving mornings at the Turkey Trot 5K, and selling Christmas trees, all that done to raise funds to give back to the Merrimack community where it's needed. I collaborate with high school teachers and students on the 4-way test speech contest that I MC each year here on Merrimack TV. I've also judged the first robotics competition at the high school and serve as a Boy Scout Merit Badge counselor for Scouts in town and have presented to the Girl Scout troops here in town. As an elected representative, I've attended Eagle Scout Courts of Honor, presented in the 3 elementary schools in town on how a bill becomes a law, and other regular community appearances, including town council and school board meetings. It's important to note that there are constantly unique and important concerns that constituents have. I've worked on plenty with resident testimonials on my website, and I'm willing to continue assisting constituents with any of their needs. Navigating government can be very complex. Service as a state representative doesn't stop in Concord. It is very much in and of the community, and I am able to continue that important community service presence with your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. And this ends the section of the question and answer section. So now what we'll have closing remarks from all of our candidates. And at the end of their remarks, I will explain the change in voting locations that I mentioned earlier in the program. So we'll start with Janine, please.
I want to thank you, Representative LaRue, for hosting this forum and for the years that you served in Concord. You've been a valuable asset to our town and a wealth of information to me on matters pertaining to legislation. Sometimes I hear that there should be no political parties, but that really isn't feasible because whether we're talking about the right to bear arms, income tax, big government versus small government, the parties believe in different things. I made promises to the voters when I ran for my first term 10 years ago, and my voting record proves that I've kept those promises. I'm a strong, committed conservative. I believe in a smaller, more frugal state government, reduced taxes and fees, no sales or income tax, the sanctity of innocent human life, justice for victims of heinous crimes, voter integrity, a business-friendly environment to create jobs, respect for our military, veterans, and police officers. I've been endorsed by the National Rifle Association, Young Americans for Liberty, the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, Cornerstone, and New Hampshire Right to Life. Again, I ask for your vote for all 8 of us, and I invite you to visit flipthenhhouse.com. Again, that's flip, F-L-I-P, the nhhouse.com. Thank you.
Next, we have Lindsay.
First I want to thank Bob LaRue for hosting this program and giving all of us an opportunity to talk about the issues at stake in this election. I feel very honored to be part of this incredible team of candidates, and it is really humbling to hear how much experience all of you have in the State House and in public service in general. So on November 3rd, I encourage everyone in Merrimack to vote down ballot for this fantastic team of 8. With your support, we will work for you in Concord to defend the New Hampshire advantage and put Merrimack first.
Thank you, Lindsay. Next, we have Jack Balcom.
Okay, thanks, Bob. And again, I mirror that. Thank you so much for being the MC for this forum. And thank you out to all the viewers out there that have made it down here that far. We appreciate your attention to us. It's clear that your vote on November 3rd is a powerful message, and it's very, very important that you vote for the New Hampshire advantage, which is low taxes, school choice, protect individual freedoms, protect our natural resources, and ensure clean air and clean water. Vote Republican. Vote for your families. Maureen brought out the fact that that all of us are multidimensional. I forgot to mention my 22 years coaching in the MYA. I forgot to mention that our service to community doesn't stop at the town line. I'm on the board of Harbor Homes. I've been the liaison between Harbor Homes and the governor for the last 3 years. I'd like to finally close with saying, you have an opportunity to put 8 of the most dynamic and wonderful individuals who will work so hard for you up in Concord. Don't waste that vote. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. Melissa?
Well, I think you've gotten to know a little bit about my general philosophies on government and liberty and how that will influence my decision-making as a legislator. For example, I will never vote to have the government take more of your hard-earned money, and I will work to reduce spending to lessen your current tax burdens. And that's really the work that's needed to create a strong economic recovery. I will continue the bipartisan efforts to find solutions to our community water and environmental issues because we're all called to be good stewards to our environment. I will work to expand and promote educational freedom. And I will absolutely work to protect your privacy and your individual liberties. So I ask for your vote on November 3rd for myself and our whole team.
Thank you, Melissa. Bob Peel?
I also want to say thank you, Bob, for moderating this, and thank you to all the candidates here. They did a wonderful job and very dynamic. I'm just going to say, please vote for the great slate of 8 here via absentee or on November 3rd. And that's about it.
Thank you, Bob. Rick?
Well, thank you, Bob. Let me join with everyone else in thanking you, not only for hosting us today, but for your many, many years of service to the community. You've been an inspiration to us all, excuse me, and a mentor to many of us as well. So we thank you, and we ask the voters on November 3rd to support the great slate of 8. We're certainly not going to let you down, and we're committed to doing what needs to be done for the benefit of the town and the state. And again, Bob, thank you.
Dr. Mayville?
Thank you. Like you watching this program, I'm an informed voter. Each of my colleagues on this slate of 8 brings a unique talent and strength to their volunteer public service. I'm grateful for the work of my fellow residents who are acting or former state representatives, Janine Nodder, Dick Hinch, Jack Balcom, Maureen Mooney. They've served you freely and they've served you well. Their records demonstrate their commitment to Merrimack and to the state of New Hampshire. I'm honored to work with Bob Healy, an amazing member of our community and a stellar volunteer. Melissa Blasek, a Merrimack small business owner who brings a true love of liberty and freedom to our panel. And I'm inspired by Lindsay Tausch, a young conservative who will serve you well. Mine's a character of collaboration. If you want protection from future income tax, vote for me. If you want protection from future tolls for Merrimack, vote for me. If you believe in supporting our economy and creating jobs by supporting businesses, then vote for me. If you believe in school choice, vote for me. And if you believe we must conserve and protect our Merrimack and New Hampshire natural resources, then vote for me. If you want a true representative of what you stand for, if you want someone who loves Merrimack like you do, if you want a candidate who will represent our community's best interests, then vote for Mary Mayville and vote for this Republican slate of 8. Vote down ballot. We'll do it for you. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Doc. Maureen?
Thank you, Representative Bob LaRue, not only for hosting this forum, but for your years of dedicated service to the Merrimack community. Having served proudly alongside of you, I can tell you firsthand, you will be greatly missed in our State House. I want to thank all of you for watching and for listening. This has been a fantastic forum. I want to thank my 7 teammates for your commitment to serve and for running to preserve our state, to preserve our New Hampshire advantage. My name is Maureen Mooney again, and I'm a candidate for state representative. I look forward to serving you again in Concord. My website is votemooney.com. I, along with my 7 teammates that stand for no income tax, no sales tax, economic recovery, school choice, working together on clean water, and preserving the New Hampshire advantage, all of us respectfully ask for your vote on November 3rd or in advance by absentee ballot. Thank you again, and I will see you around town.
Thank you, Maureen. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this forum. We have the most experienced we have the team on the ballot, the most legislative experience. There is nothing like experience up in Concord. And also an important point I'd like to make is that this is a bipartisan election, which means that Republicans, Democrats, and independents can all vote for the great slate of 8. Now, you heard me mention earlier there was a change in the voting location. There will be no voting at the James Mastrocola Upper Elementary School, better known as JMUS. Those who used to vote at JMUS or Ward 1 for this election only will have to vote at the high school. The other 2 locations, the Merrimack Middle School and the St. John Newman School, remain the same. But the people who used to vote at JMUS for this election will have to vote at the high school. The hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. In order to vote in Merrimack, you must be a registered resident with proper photo ID. If you're not able to vote in person or need assistance to register or an absentee ballot, you can contact the town clerk's office at 424-3631. I'd like to thank you for the honor you gave me for serving for the past 24 years. God bless you and your loved ones during these trying times. God bless all the candidates from all the parties for their unselfish willingness to help our community. And God bless America, and we'll see you on November 3rd.